back, everyone, to the Hockey North podcast. I'm your host today, Tyler Kroom, joined here with my good friend Brendan Pawliw. Brendan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. It was a wonderful weekend, highlighted by Connor Bedard mania in Prince George. He was here at the CN Center in front of a sold-out crowd, and best part, at least for me, was a 5-1 Pats victory. That's my hometown junior hockey team. So I scored twice in that win, and it was nice to see him up close and in person in what's likely his only trip to the Northern Capital. So that was a highlight of my weekend. Of course, we had Spruce Kings and Bucks on Saturday, and no, pretty light, but pretty good, Tyler.
Absolutely, and the Connor Bedard mania is right. I know the town was buzzing, and a record-breaking sellout for the Prince George Cougars for that game, and to surprise no one really. I mean, this might be the only time a lot of people here are going to get a chance to see a generational talent take to the ice here in Prince George.
Yeah, and it was just awesome. And you just seeing the pictures of him signing a couple autographs on his way out. As part of a media session after the game as well. And uh, just the whole thing. You've never really seen anything quite like that. And they just didn't just sell out Prince George. They sold out the entire BC Division road trip from Vancouver to Kamloops, Kelowna, Victoria, Prince George. Every corner of BC was sold out in terms of the home arenas of these BC Division teams just to see Connor Bedard.
Oh, I know, and I think I read somewhere too that he had some local ties here to Prince George. I didn't quite catch what his connections were, but I think pretty cool that talent like that does have family ties to the Northern Capital.
Yeah, I believe they were second cousins, if I'm not mistaken. I know the Prince George Citizen ran something on that in their paper a couple days ago. So nice to see that Bedard getting the family support to go along with the fan support in those
Absolutely. With that said, good weekend of hockey, and we're gonna go with our weekend breakdown here for athletes playing in the Junior A and Junior B ranks. Take it away, Brendan Palu.
All right, first and foremost in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, Dawson Smith, the White Horse product, playing for the Larange Ice Wolves. 13-4-0-1 on the season, 2.46 goals against average, 932 save percentage. He continued his on ice winning streak to six straight starts thanks to three more wins over the last week against the Notre Dame Hounds, Weyburn Red Wings, and Estevan Bruins, all on the road, I might add, and a very good weekend for Dawson Smith. Owen Palfreyman of the Melfort Mustangs, former Caribou Cougar, Calgary Hitmen, 2 assists in 4 games. He had one helper on December the 2nd against the Yorkton Terriers. That was a home game. They were also home to the Battlefords North Stars the following night. Did not get a point in that contest. 4-2 win for the Nipawin Hawks over the weekend against the Melville Millionaires. And of course, Alex Achitwa, former Caribou Cougar, scoring a goal in that game. So good job for Chitty to light the lamp in that one. Jackson Hassman of the Weyburn Red Wings, 11 goals, 1 assist on the season. He's been a scoring machine lately for the Red Wings, scoring in 4 straight games, 5 goals during that span. 2 goal effort at home against the Yorkton Terriers, 1 goal against the Larange Ice Wolves, and then another goal against the Humboldt Broncos. So good job there by Jackson. And of course, Tyson Smith, now of the Yorkton Terriers, 0-2 in 3 games for Yorkton, 4.5 goals against average, 891 save percentage there. Quinn Disher, former Trail Smoke Heater, now a member of the Brooks Bandits of the Alberta Junior Hockey League. He played over the weekend against Olds and Canmore, both home games for him. Pointless for Disher, but I would imagine many more highlights to come while in a Brooks Bandits jersey. Decker Moinchin of the Grand Prairie Storm, he enjoyed some success. He scored a goal in a 5-1 victory at home against the Drayton Valley Thunder. It was the opening goal of the game for Grand Prairie en route to that victory. Hunter Brown of the Spruce Grove Saints, good season for him. 21 points, 24 games, 7 goals, 14 helpers. Over the weekend, he had 2 helpers in a win against Okotoks, followed by a goal and an assist against Calgary. So good job, Hunter. And of course, his teammate and fellow PG product, Brophy Dunn, 7 helpers in 22 games for him. Brophy did not register a point in those 2 games that he played with Hunter. To the BCHL now, Diego Johnson, the Wisconsin commit, 10 points in 20 games for the Merritt Centennials, a goal and an assist on December the 2nd against Powell River. Held pointless against Nanaimo there, but Diego, just 16, having a successful season there. Prince George Spruce Kings dropping both games at home to the Cranbrook Bucks over the weekend. Not very un-Spruce King-like to drop both home games to the same opponent on the same weekend. Of course, handful of Northern products on that team. Lyndon Macau, who was on this podcast earlier. Ditto for Jordan Fairley, who's a Hockey North athlete. Scott Cousins, who's on this episode tonight. You'll hear from him a little later. He was on the top line all weekend long for the Spruce Kings. And of course, John Harrington of Hudson's Hope, also a podcast guest and now two-time BCHL All-Star, fairly getting in as an All-Star on the fan vote. Also across the BCHL, Nathan Mackey of the Salmon Arm Silverbacks, the Silverbacks captain, 22 points in 25 games, a goal and a helper on Sunday against the Cowichan Valley Capitals. He also had 1-1 against the Surrey Eagles on Friday. It was a 3-game road trip for Salmon Arm rather. Surrey, Victoria, and Cowichan Valley. So pretty busy weekend there. And Aiden Reeves, the Prince George product, the captain of the West Kelowna Warriors, 2 goals, 1 assist in 22 games. He did not score over the weekend or get a point for the Warriors. They played at home against Vernon, followed by a road game against Penticton, which they lost in overtime by a 3-2 score. Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League, now the Junior B ranks. Port Alberta Bombers winning 3-2 over the Saanich Predators on Friday. Chase Pacheco, 2 more goals for him on the season. His fellow teammate Kenyon McIsaac, also a member of the Port Alberta Bombers. Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, Nelson Leafs goaltender and PG and Fort St. James product Jasper Tate, now 7-3-0 on the season. He dropped his latest start to the Beaver Valley Nighthawks, allowing 2 goals in that contest, but he did stop 42 of 44 shots, good enough for a .955 save percentage. Fellow goaltender Colton Phillips Wants of Quesnel, now 5-0 in the Kamloops Storm net, 1.36 goals against average, .949 save percentage. He won his latest start at home. That was a good one as well. That was against the 100 Mile House Wranglers, so a good job for him. And of course, speaking of the Wranglers, they have double-digit Northern products on their roster. Taking a look at the Osoyoos Coyotes, Carter Yaris still lighting it up in the KIJHL, 39 points in 19 games, followed by Quesnel's Jack Henderson, 30 points in 18 games. And then you scroll down the list, Ethan Flores of Vanderhoof, 9 and 19 for him. Zach Leslie, 5 points in 14 games. And of course, Kenny Giroux, one of the 2 goaltenders on that Osoyoos roster. We'll just briefly look at his profile. He's played in 11 games this year, a 6-3 mark. And wouldn't you know it, he won against the Kelowna Chiefs there on Friday, allowing just 2 goals against, 28 saves on 30 shots, and a save percentage of .933. Canadian Sports School Hockey League, we had a few prospects going, or a few Northern products going. Chase Harrington, who was on the podcast last week, 22 points in 14 games, including 2 goals and 1 assist on the road against the North Shore Warriors. Congratulations, Chase. Callus Pierce of Prince Rupert, 14 points in 16 games. He had a goal and a helper on Sunday in a home game for the Rink Academy in Kelowna. Landon Copper of Whitehorse, 14 points in 14 games. He had 2 assists in that exact same game for Rink Academy there. Brett Peebles of Prince George, 9 points in 13 games for the Burnaby Winter Club. He scored on Saturday against OHA, so congratulations, Brett. Nash Holmes of the Delta Hockey Academy's U17 prep team. He's another Whitehorse product. 3 points in 14 games, including goals in back-to-back contests on the road against Shawnigan Lake. Adam Ireland of the Pacific Coast Hockey Academy's U15 prep team, 6 points in 16 games for him, including a goal on Sunday against the North Shore Warriors. And to cap it all off, we got some Canada West goodies to pass along your way. as the Saskatchewan Huskies and the Calgary Dinos played a couple nights to mark the last games of the first half of the season before the Christmas break. Keegan Goulet, a helper for the Dinos in a 2-1 loss on Friday. Brett Curley, a +1 in that game as well. Shifting to Saturday, the Dinos won in double overtime 3-2. Keegan Goulet did not record a point in that game, but Brett Curley did get an assist in that one as well. So Dino splitting there. And in women's hockey, or men's hockey rather, for the Canada West, Jesse Pomeroy, a helper for the Trinity Western Spartans, in a 6-1 loss to Mount Royal. Dane Dubois, another former Caribou Cougar, also on that team. And of course, Reed Perpeluk, the former PG Cougar and Caribou Cougar, and Brandon Weeking will be joining the Spartans in the New Year's, talking to him about it over the weekend. So pretty stoked to be joining the Canada West ranks after the Christmas break. So congratulations, Reed.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brendan. And, really cool to see Reed Perpeluk go the educational route, utilizing that scholarship achieved through playing in the Western Hockey League after a few East Coast runs here, trying to get that pro career started. And with that said, we're going to go on to the Western Hockey League updates for our Northern athletes. We're going to start here with the Prince George Cougars. Caden Brown had himself a really good weekend on the Friday game with Regina and Connor Bedard in town. He ended up getting the first goal of the game with a nice feed from Carter McAdams. Unfortunately, they did lose that game to Regina. But here on Sunday, as we're recording, they were in Vancouver against the Giants, and Caden Brown had himself another really big night, accumulating a multi-point game. And, for him, that was 3 goals and 1 assist over the weekend. So good job for Caden Brown, the Fort St. John and Prince George, BC product. And we're going to head over to Saskatoon. Tanner Mollendijk, the McBride BC product, had himself 2 assists over the weekend. The Blaze went 2-0, playing games against Medicine Hat and the Red Deer Rebels. Hayden Smith and Miguel Marcus both went pointless for Lethbridge, as they went 1-1 over the weekend. Nico Myatovic also held pointless, the Prince George BC product, as Seattle went 2-0 over the weekend. And that's going to do it here for our athletes in the Western Hockey League. And now we're going to head on to our Caribou Hockey Weekly. So we had 2 teams in action here from the Caribou Hockey program. The U15s were over in Kelowna playing the Okanagan Rockets. And unfortunately, they went 0-2 on the weekend. And the U17s also on the road went down to the island to play the North Island Silvertips, and they went 2-0. So good work there, boys. The U18 AAA Caribou Cougars and the Northern Capitals both no games this weekend, as they're enjoying their own little Christmas break. However, they did put in some volunteer hours, as on the Friday night, the Caribou Cougars U18s were attending the Salvation Army Christmas Kettles at the Cougars game. And then all day Saturday, the Northern Capitals were doing Christmas Kettles at various locations here in town. So it's good to see the players putting some time in with the community over the holidays. And
yeah, it's great to see players giving back at every level, especially the Northern Caps and the Caribou Cougars. I know that's something that's high on the list of Caribou Hockey General Manager Trevor Sprague. So good job to both the Capitals and the Caribou Cougars to get out in the community and give up some of their time while not on the ice this weekend, and get in the holiday spirit in addition to that.
absolutely. Especially, their schedules are very tight. They got a lot of training. They could do off ice with Chase Astrino at Astrino Athletics. They got a lot of ice times. They got still in school, so they have a lot of an educational workload. And, for them to, on top of travel time, to be able to find those slots as an organization to make sure that their players are still a part of the community and giving back is, a huge benefit to the program. And I think it's cool to see the smile on and the willingness that each athlete has as they want to be able to be a part of these things. And it's a really cool thing to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And with that said, we have 2 great interviews, 2 Caribou Hockey alumni, both Prince George products, Hockey North athletes. Brendan, we're going to start with Nico Myatovic of the Seattle Thunderbirds. How about you give us a little brief heading into this interview?
Well, Nico, of course, like many of the Seattle Thunderbird players this season, loaded for bear to go and win a WHL title after coming up 2 wins shy last year in that magical run against the Edmonton Oil Kings. Oil Kings, of course, going to the Memorial Cup representing the WHL, but Seattle very hungry in that ultra competitive U.S. division, which also includes the Everett Silver Tips rather in the Portland Winterhawks, and he's having a near point per game pace to the season, much like a lot of his teammates, as I've mentioned. I also talked about playing Caribou hockey, playing at PGMAHA, and a whole slew of other topics, and maybe a slight surprise, and maybe the hockey player in terms of the NHL player that he looks up to now might surprise you a little bit. So here's our chat with Hockey North athlete, and Caribou hockey graduate Nico Myatovic of the Seattle Thunderbirds. All right, I'm with Prince George Product and Seattle Thunderbirds forward, Nico Myatovic here on the Hockey North podcast. Nico, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome. Thanks for reaching out, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. All right, Nico. So you're in your third season technically with the Seattle Thunderbirds. You're among the elite teams, not only in the Western Hockey League, but of course across Canada, as your team is nationally ranked at the moment. Just talk about how things are going, not only for yourself personally, but for the club right now.
Yeah, I think the team's playing well. We're starting to come together as a group, putting things together, and it's good to see. I mean, I think we have a talented group in here. It's just a matter of putting all the pieces together and playing as a team, and it's been going really well so far. So we're looking good.
You have 7 goals already this season. Trying to take another step up, at least statistically, from the decent season you had last year, where you had almost nearly 30 points. What did you work on most throughout the short summer that you had to try and take that next step?
Yeah, I think just working on my shot, different types of releases and shooting techniques. It's helped a lot. I think it's shown here early in the season that work has been paid off so far. So hopefully looking to keep it going.
Who are you playing with right now?
Right now I'm playing with Sam Popovich and Mackay Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys are pretty good.
And of course, you kind of maybe look at yourself as kind of that, top 6, top 9 kind of utility type forward that can maybe play in every situation. Do you take pride in something like that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I take pride in gaining that trust in the coaching staff. Someone that could, like you said, play in all situations. I really like being that guy. So it's been going good so far.
And of course, Seattle went on a pretty heck of a good run last year in the playoffs. You came back 3-1 against Portland to dispatch them. You find a way to get into the finals after beating Kamloops and coming up 2 wins shy of a league title last year. Just maybe talk about that magical playoff run that your young group went through last year, and maybe caught some people by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're all playing for each other in that room, and we all loved each other. Like we were playing for each other every night. And like you said, when we were down against those teams, like 3-1 to Portland, 3-2 to Kamloops, like we just went out there and gave it our all. And yeah, it ended up being a pretty good run, but at the end, obviously we came short. So I think this season we're playing with a bit of a chip on our shoulder and looking to go all the way this year.
How hungry is this group to not only achieve the same level of success from last year, but also take that final step in winning it all?
Yeah, I think, like I said, we knew the pain it was to lose there in the finals last year. I think we're using that as motivation kind of to win it all this year. And yeah, this group is hungry. I think it's the hungriest I've ever seen it. So we're looking to win a championship in that locker room there.
And it's not going to be easy. You play in a very tough conference, especially within your own division. Everett, Portland, always powerhouses in the U.S. division. Tri-City's getting better. Then, of course, you got Kamloops, which is hosting the Memorial Cup. So while you're among the favorites to get back, the road to get there might be a little bit tougher.
Yeah, obviously, I think the whole conference this year is really strong, and like you said, yeah, our division in particular, like Portland and Everett, and yeah, even the Tri Cities and Spokane. So every night, I mean, we got to be on our A game, and there's no easy nights in this league. It's a tough league, and we got to be coming ready to play every day.
So maybe talk about how hockey crazy the Pacific Northwest is. Your fans are noted for being boisterous, passionate, huge rivalries with the Spokanes and Portlands and Everetts, where the fan bases seem to be on top of each other at all times. And it makes for some pretty entertaining atmospheres. And what is it about those games, those rivalry games, that make it pretty easy to get up for?
Yeah, I think, like you said, just the fan bases are so passionate with their teams. We don't like losing to our opposition, and like you said, our rivals like Portland and Everett and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, when we got those fans, we know that we have those fans behind us, especially for those home games. It elevates our game, and it makes it easy for us to get up and want to win those games for sure.
What's that atmosphere like on the ice as a player? Obviously, your focus is on the ice doing your job, but do you kind of hear some of the comments or the cheers, or when you're on the ice trying to score a goal or hit somebody, or do you try and drown all that stuff out?
I mean, yeah, I draw it all out, but I think sometimes there's moments in the games where you can just, look around and just appreciate how there's just a massive crowd, watching you, and all the roars and stuff when there's a goal or a big hit. It makes it for a fun atmosphere, and it's just a pleasure to play in front of every night.
What's the appetite for hockey now? Or do you think there's maybe a larger appetite for hockey now in the Seattle area? I know Thunderbirds are based out of Kent in your own rink, but you have the Kraken now, that NHL exposure. You have your team. You've also got other major league sports like the Mariners, the Seahawks. You also have the Sounders. You kind of feel like the appetite for hockey in that city has grown with the presence of the Kraken now?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, having that NHL team there has just, grown the fan base, and I think the game of hockey in the Pacific Northwest. And then I think just in general, like you said, we got the Seahawks, the Mariners, the Sounders. Like, it's just a very sport oriented area, of the United States that, everyone's passionate about whatever sport it may be. So it makes it fun for sure.
Now let's go back to your minor hockey days. You grew up in Prince George, went through the minor hockey system. So maybe talk about how you first got into the game, as well as some of your earliest memories in minor hockey.
Yeah, I think I was about 3 years old when I, first strapped on the skates and, just taking those first skating lessons. And then I think I just fell in love with it right away. Obviously just played every minute in Prince George, every stage, every group, Adams through midget pretty much. So it was pretty fun. And then, I mean, there's just tons of memories. You grow up with so many people, but I think when we won that Bantam provincial championship on home ice, that was a pretty fond memory. And I think that group will, that'll stay with me for the rest of my life for sure.
Who was on that Bantam provincial team?
We had Scott Cousins, Decker Moichin, Zach Leslie, Amar Power. We just had such a tight group that, very similar to this year. I think like we were just playing for each other every night, and it ended up successful for us, and just to win it in front of friends and family and kin one there is pretty special.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Scott Cousins, now a member of the Spruce Kings. He did play for Kelowna. Decker Moichin now playing Junior A in Grand Prairie. So a lot of you on junior rosters enjoying various levels of success. And just maybe talk about the community support of Prince George, because, I see it too in my job as a journalist, where it doesn't matter what type of fundraiser it is or initiatives, the community support in Prince George is top notch. And so maybe talk about how appreciative you were of that growing up, playing minor hockey.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I mean, you learn to love the city, and I still, hold it dear to my heart to this day. Just everyone loves hockey there, and you see that support, like you said, with the fundraisers or when I was able to play for the Caribou Cougars, they're like just the fans that would come out. It's pretty special to see. And, Prince George is a pretty awesome place.
Were you on that Caribou team that won that championship against Fraser Valley?
No, I was the year after. I was on there as a 15-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe talk about that 1 year with Caribou and how that maybe helped you take that next step with the Thunderbirds the following year.
Yeah, I think, that coaching staff there was tremendous, I think, for me. And from, playing there as a 15-year-old was, I think, very good for my development, just playing with those 16, 17-year-old guys, just a couple years older for me, helped me when I was in this league as a 16-year-old, playing against the 19s and 20s, just playing against those older players was very good for me. And then, like I said, the coaching staff, you had Tyler Brough, RJ Bear, and Jordan Duncan on the bench. They were just tremendous for me for my development that year.
What did they try and teach you or impress upon you before taking that next step where you are now?
I think just, the small details that they'll know will make a difference at this level, like the defensive play and just knowing how to play in your own end and stuff. I think that's something that I remember RJ was, super fond of and helping me understand that area of the game so that when I took this jump to this level, it was a smoother transition than it could have been.
Mm-hmm. Let's obviously talk about maybe some idols or players you grew up watching a lot, either locally or in the NHL. Who did you try and watch or pay attention to growing up, and who do you feel that you try and model your game after, maybe that might be in the pro ranks right now?
Yeah, I think currently I play kind of similar to an Anthony Cirelli off Tampa Bay, just that guy who's, kind of a Swiss Army knife, can play in all situations, a really good killer. Just a smart 200-foot player that's a pretty good skater. So I think that's who I kind of model my game after right now.
Mm-hmm. Now it's your draft year. I think you are rated in the Central Scouting rankings. That's probably not something you're thinking about at the moment, but just the fact that you're mentioned, what does that mean to you? And just maybe touch on, the work that you're putting into maybe improve your draft stock here come the summertime.
Yeah, I think you kind of want to push it as far back as you can because you're trying to focus on the team. But to see your name on that list, it's pretty special for the first time. Just knowing, that your name's kind of out there. And then, yeah, I think just the team success will bring on that personal success. So just doing everything, that I can in my power to help the team win will, kind of benefit me personally in the long run.
Now your team's loading up again. You've acquired a couple of pretty steady blue liners on your organization. Luke Procroft from Edmonton, who you played against in the finals last year, followed by Nolan Allen, who your team just acquired in a blockbuster deal from the Prince Albert Raiders. Just maybe talk about what those two blue liners bring to the table and how they help solidify your team as a whole.
Yeah, those are two very stellar defensemen, obviously, that we added. Like you said, we just added Nolan Allen, and Luke's been here for a couple of weeks now, and already he's made an impact on our blue line. So I think, with those two pieces, our blue line is going to be very sturdy, and I think it just adds some stability back there. So it's a pretty good move, I think, for sure.
Is it tough to see players get traded or be involved in big trades? Because, you're on the bus, you develop bonds with a lot of these guys, and then to see some of the kids that you're playing with and have grown close to over the past couple of years be involved in a big trade going the other way. How tough is that?
Yeah, it's tough for sure. Obviously you play with these guys. I've been here for 3 years, and you just see you play that long with these guys, and then just to see them, gone for the next day, it's tough to see. And obviously it was tough goodbyes yesterday, seeing those three players go. But at the end of the day, it's the nature of the game, which it's a tough reality, but it's how it goes sometimes. And I think, it's our management telling us that they have faith in our group, that, they kind of want to go for it this year. So to see that is pretty special, I think.
Mm-hmm. What's the one thing that you kind of want to take away from this year? Obviously, a championship is first and foremost, but what's the one thing you want to kind of take away and get out of it and try and focus on this year, not only for yourself personally, but for the team as well?
Yeah, I think just, I want to see that bond come together. I think last year's team had that by the end of the playoff run, and that's what made it so devastating to lose. So I think as we continue to play here night in, night out, that bond is going to come together, and it's going to be pretty special because that relationship with every single one of these guys is, going to last a lifetime. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Other than Prince George, what's your favorite road city in the Western Hockey League?
I gotta say probably either Spokane or Tri-City, because we stop in this little town in between and we get a pretty good pregame there. So I mean I like those two spots for sure.
Okay. What else? Do you have any pregame rituals or things that you kind of have to do in order to get yourself hyped up for the game? Or if you don't do them, you might feel that you might not play as well that night?
Yeah, I think I mean I know a lot of guys like to play sewer ball, or soccer before the game, but for me there's just a certain time when I'm allowed to do it. So, I have to let all the meetings and all the power play PK meetings go by until I can hop in the circle. That's kind of one thing that I do personally.
Do you have a favorite pregame meal?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a chicken and pasta guy, but this year I've started to switch it up just so it doesn't get old. I've been mixing in some quinoa and chicken, and that's been working out pretty well for me. So yeah, just having that variety I think is good.
Is there like a favorite off ice activity or favorite hangout spot that you guys like to go to when you're not playing or practicing?
It depends on certain different areas. I mean, a lot of the guys Seahawks games, if we're lucky, and it lands on a good off day, I've been to one of those. So those are kind of, the big events that we'll go to on off days like that.
Yeah. Any other, like, you like to go bowling? You have to play cards, anything like that?
Yeah, guys will get together, after practice even, or if there's long off days, we'll get together and at just someone's house and maybe play a game of poker or something like that. So that's always fun for sure.
All right, Nico. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us on our podcast, and good luck to the rest of the way. And hopefully we can do this again in the not too distant future.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, no problem.
And that was our interview with Nico Myatovic. What are your final thoughts there on that interview, Brendan?
Just Myatovic very hungry to get that championship ring, as I'm sure the rest of his Thunderbird teammates are. I talked about the hockey crazy fans in the Pacific Northwest, not just in Seattle, but Portland, Everett, that entire area, even in Spokane, where it can get hectic for visiting teams. So we touched on that, as well as the family and local support, and how maybe his 1 year with the Caribou Cougars made him a much better player, helping with his defensive game as a whole as well. So Nico, a very good 200-foot player for Seattle, and I'd be remiss not to mention that he's also a C-rated skater for the upcoming NHL draft here in June.
Absolutely. Nico is a great young man, and I've had the fortunate luck to be able to witness his full development, really, as he played with my younger brother Matthew in minor hockey growing up. And you get to see from a young boy to where he is now, and you get to see the full extent of the player development side for him, and it's a cool story, and definitely something that is very cool to be a witness to. And with that said, we also have Scotty Cousins. A bit of a briefing before we head into our interview with Scott.
Yeah, Scott was with the Kelowna Rockets, sent to the Spruce Kings about a month or so ago. Has played in 11 games now with Prince George since that time, recording his first BCHL goal in a win over Alberni Valley. So congratulations on Scott for that. And Scott, very cheery, very upbeat kind of a personality, as I'm sure a lot of people in the hockey circles here locally can attest to. And it was a joy to Talked to him, touching on his time in the Okanagan, as well as being happy about suiting up for a team that he grew up watching in the Prince George Spruce Kings, and what it's going to take to get out of that ultra-competitive interior conference. Well, every junior hockey team in their home community has to have a couple of local products on it. For the Prince George Spruce Kings, they have 4 former Caribou Cougars on the roster, including Prince George Forward product, Scott Cousins. Scott, welcome to the Hockey North podcast. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Scott, after a stint with the Kelowna Rockets, you find yourself with the Prince George Spruce Kings. I guess first and foremost, how does it feel to be home, and how does it feel to be wearing the long-standing traditional colors of the Spruce Kings?
It feels awesome. It's great. It's a little bit of an adjustment for sure, but no, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, there's a really good background here in Prince George with the Spruce Kings for sure, and it's quite an honor, honestly, to be able to wear those colors and be at home, and I got the family here to watch me. So,
do you feel any added pressure to be playing at home and playing for your hometown team, or do you kind of relish that?
You know what? I'd probably be lying if I said there wasn't a little bit of added pressure. Obviously, mom and dad in the stands, there's always a little bit extra, but nothing too crazy, nothing I haven't dealt with before. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were with Kelowna for a couple of seasons there. Things maybe didn't quite work out the way that you'd hoped. Just maybe talk about your time in Kelowna and what led you to coming to the Spruce Kings.
Yeah, so no, honestly, my time in Kelowna was great. Like, I had not a bad thing to say about that organization. I was treated just like any other player there, and yeah, things obviously didn't work out the way I had pictured it. But in saying that, it's not off the board going there again next year or wherever it may be. But yeah, just super thankful for all they did for me down there, and obviously missed the guys a little bit down there, but yeah, excited to be home for sure.
Mm-hmm. Let's obviously take a look. Obviously, you're a Prince George product, playing for the Spruce Kings. Let's delve into your earlier minor hockey days and maybe some of your earliest memories. When did you first kind of get into hockey, and just maybe take us through some of your minor hockey days here in Prince George?
Oh yeah, first got into hockey at around 4 or 5. I've always been a big hockey fan. Dad always had it playing on at home, the Canucks games. So I'd say, yeah, just around the house kind of watching hockey, and then, you pick it up and parents buy you some mini sticks and all that stuff. So started off there, and then, yeah, played minor hockey throughout my whole entire time till junior in Prince George. Went through the PGMHA up to the Caribou ranks, and then back home and playing for the Spruce Kings.
So we talk about maybe some of the friendships you made, some of the memories you have of playing minor hockey in Prince George?
Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely no lack of memories for sure. I grew up, and being an 04, we have an awesome age group. Like, obviously, a lot of success in our age group. Like Nico's lighting it up down in Seattle there, and he's got his name on a draft prospects list now. So by NHL Central Scouting, which is awesome. And then, you got guys like Brady, Linden, who I'm playing with here, or not Brady, but Linden. And obviously I'm forgetting names right now too, but even Caden Brown, who came later on too. Like, it's a pretty special group we got going here. So.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you were a Caribou Cougar. You played on that really stacked U16 team, which was slated to go all the way, and then COVID kind of happened and kind of ruined any chance of winning a championship. Just maybe talk about how special that group was.
Yeah, that was I want to say one of, if not my favorite years of hockey. It started in the locker room, like just such a tight knit team, and then coaching staff was amazing, not only for me but just the team. And I thought our team just really gelled so well, and that was even bigger than our skill asset. Obviously, we were skilled, but yeah, I think it all just started in the locker room and how tight we were as a team. So.
Yeah, because I think Ryan House, if I'm not mistaken, was your coach.
Yeah.
Decker Moyton was a teammate. Lyndon Macca was a teammate. Uh, just maybe talk
Yes.
about, playing with those guys who are now at the junior A level, both in BC and Alberta, as well as a lot of the other players that you find yourself playing with. Miguel Marquez, I do believe, was a member of that team.
He AP'd with us for a game or two. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a pretty stacked age group there.
Yeah, it was, and you know what? That's just it too. It's just a lot of guys that had the same interests and goals in mind, and that's climbing their way up to the junior rank, and so I think that's what made us even more lethal too. So
Yeah. Well, I guess what was your first reaction knowing that your season was canceled due to the pandemic, and I would imagine it's pretty crushing, not just for you but for everybody.
yeah, it was heartbreaking for sure. That was a tough moment, definitely. Like we we first found out that it was school, and so everybody was kind of a little bit excited, I guess. Couple weeks off school or whatever it was, and then we went to the Coliseum. All the Caribou teams had gathered in the Coliseum, and that's when we found out that we weren't going to be continuing, and it was heartbreaking because our team and our mojo was we were going to win it all, and we had a good idea that we were going to be that team, and it sucked. It never panned out.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to a lot of Cougars or Spruce Kings games as a kid growing up?
I went to the odd one. I wasn't really a huge Cougars. I want to say more. I definitely lean towards the Spruce Kings. They had all that success when I was kind of coming up, like their RBC Cup run, and then they had some big name guys in town for playoffs, like the New Hook, and then so yeah, I want to say definitely lean towards Spruce Kings, but I wasn't honestly too crazy either way.
Yeah. That obviously that old rink when it's packed and it's loud in playoff times. I'm sure you remember. It's pretty rocking. I called those home games for two
Yeah,
seasons. It's pretty wild.
yeah, no, it was quite the atmosphere. So hopefully we can bring that back this year too.
What's it like playing in an old rink like that?
It's cool, honestly. You know what? Like, I like it because the big Western League barns, they're so hot, and the ice is so soft, and it feels like you're working so hard. So I love playing in the Coliseum. Like, you get some weird bounces and stuff, but the ice is so much better, and you're not sweating your. Am I allowed to swear on this?
You can if you want.
You're not sweating your ass off, and so it's nice.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about Kelowna, either with the organization or just kind of being in the city?
Oh, yeah, I'd say. Oh, that's a tough one, actually. I'd say they're honestly it was a mixture of a lot of things. Like, obviously, Kelowna is such a desirable place to land. Like, it was just so beautiful year round there. Not as bad of a winter, but and then in Kelowna, I want to say this as nice as I can, but you play for the Kelowna Rockets. It's a pretty big deal, and everybody kind of knows who you are. So it's pretty cool. Like, you go to the mall, and then there's kids there that will notice you, and then they want to get a picture and stuff like that, and a lot of signing stuff. So that was awesome. That's something that I'll definitely never forget about. So I'd want to say just the fans and probably just the city, I guess.
So it's pretty safe to say it kind of felt like a celebrity down there.
More or less, yeah, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite restaurant or favorite place to eat in Kelowna?
Yes, I do. We got there's a Cecil's Pierogies, which is just a little Ukrainian pierogi spot just like 2 minutes away from the rink. And those are good. Those are dangerous. I went there one or two too many times. That place for sure. Woodfire Bakery is another good one. We got a steal of a discount there. So we got there's like a chicken cordon bleu sandwich. It was lights out, and we got it for like $5. So you can't pass that up. There's more. I could go on and on and on, but yeah, those two for sure.
Yeah. It seems like a really hockey mad part of the province because you take a look at the Okanagan, you have yourselves who you were part of with the Rockets. You had West Kelowna in the BCHL. You have Vernon just to the north, and you have Penticton. There just seems to be a lot of really good options in the Okanagan, depending on where you want to play your hockey. What do you kind of maybe attribute that to, and why do you think maybe the Okanagan region is so desirable for players that kind of want to play either that major, junior, or junior A level?
Definitely, yeah. Well, I mean, the travel, like if you're playing in the BC, it's pretty central, I want to say, if you're in Vernon, Kelowna, Penticton area. So that for sure. And then, I mean, it's beautiful there. Like nothing against PG because I love PG, but it might have a couple more sightseeing and stuff like that, and the weather's a bit better. So maybe potentially that too. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you take a lot of pride being from the north and being from Prince George? Obviously, the longer road trips, much more ground to cover on a lot of the bus rides, maybe not just with the Spruce Kings, but through your minor hockey days as well. Do you kind of feel like the longer, colder winters and those types of things, those things maybe kind of build character and toughen you up a little bit?
Definitely, yeah. Like you touched on it, and it sums it all up as just the road trips. Like in Kelowna, the guys would complain about a bus trip to PG and how long it is. And like, well, for 7-8 years of my life, the Kelowna trips were the easiest ones. Those are the ones that we looked forward to because it was only 7 hours on the bus. So yeah, you definitely build some character. Like you're not going to the rink in a t-shirt and shorts in the middle of winter, but it's really tough to explain. But yeah, it's you get something builds in you when you're from the north, I'd say.
What are you trying to work on or refine in your game as a member of the Spruce Kings, and what are maybe some of your goals as you try and either stay with your hometown team or try to get back onto a WHL club, whether it's the Rockets again or someone else?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I just can't be more thankful for the opportunity that the Spruce Kings have given me here. Like, they've been awesome so far, and in allowing me to kind of refigure my game out a little bit. And so yeah, that's one thing that I just touching on that is I just kind of want to regain the success that I had at the midget level and see if I can build that at the junior level and get back to the player that I was a little while ago. And so that's my goal probably.
What's the one thing they've kind of told you they want to see you kind of work on or develop, or what's maybe the one thing that you kind of see yourself want to do a little bit better at the junior level?
Well, I'd say for me personally is my physical game. Like I'm not a huge kid or a big body, so I'd say just hitting wise and then just positioning wise and getting stronger on my skates and getting stronger in puck battles. Just my all around strength, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Growing up, who did you emulate for players growing up? Did you emulate any NHL players or any local players at all that you kind of watched on the television? You mentioned the Canucks earlier on in our conversation. Were there any other NHL players that you kind of grew up idolizing, wanted to be like?
Well, I definitely wanted to be like Pavel Datsyuk. He was my favorite player. I quickly learned that I can't play like Pavel Datsyuk, though, sadly. But Pavel Datsyuk was probably for sure my guy that I kind of looked up to and idolized. Him, and then guys like I had a stint with the Sedin twins as well. Gabriel Landeskog from the Avs and Nathan McKinnon from the Avs. So.
Mm-hmm. I guess now when you take a look at obviously your game now with the Spruce Kings, you're kind of playing among the bottom six right now, although you have the potential to get up to the top six here. What's maybe the one thing that Alex is trying to maybe get into your mind, or what's the one piece of advice that he's giving you to try and help rediscover some of the success that you want to reestablish here with the Spruce Kings?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I've really taken away and really liked actually is that it just don't like it's just starting slow, learning positioning wise and like our systems and stuff like that. So I'd say, yeah, just really building all the little habits so that I can, when the time comes, which it is kind of now, I'm working my way up the lineup a little bit now, but just making sure I have all those little habits and details down solid before I go out and play however many minutes a game. So.
hmm What does it mean to be playing with fellow Northerners and Caribou alumni like John Harrington, a friend that you know, in Lyndon Macau, and Jordan Fairley, who was also a member of the Caribou Cougar program? What is it like to kind of have some of those familiar faces that kind of took a similar path to you on the same team?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. They're all awesome guys and buddies of mine, and like all three of them don't get the credit they deserve either. Like John, just to start with John, like he's a phenomenal player, like very, very underrated, and I didn't really understand it until I came to the Spruce Kings group and just kind of realized how important he was to that group and, scoring defensively and just his all around game. Jordan, you could say the exact same thing for Jordan. I don't know how in the world he doesn't have a commit to some D1 school yet, but he'll get it for sure. And yeah, he's got to be the best goalie in the BC. Like I can't see another goalie in the BCHL being better than him, let alone a lot of Western League goalies for sure. Like he is a outstanding goalie, and then Lindy is also off to such a hot start this year, and he's the same way those two are. So, no, it's awesome. They're good guys and definitely are getting success, and they're deserving of it. So.
Yeah, how far do you want to go with the game in terms of playing? And I know in the next 3 to 5 years here, you're at an age now where you're looking to accomplish a little bit more. You're maybe not necessarily playing in the league that you want right now, but you're trying to get back to as high of a level as you can. Where do you kind of envision yourself in the next little while?
Well, obviously, I wanna play hockey for as long as I can. That's my goal. Like my goal is whether it's in the AHL or the coast or overseas or wherever it might be. I wanna continue to play the game for as long as I can. So long term, that's my goal, and I'd say just short term, like I don't think the BCHL gets the credit it deserves either. Like this is a really good league. Like it's definitely not a quick cakewalk and very comparable to the Western. So yeah, obviously, is it my goal to get up to the Western League? Yeah, because I don't have my college eligibility, so I kind of lose out there. So the goal is definitely whether it's next season or later on this year. I have no clue when it's going to be, but the goal is to definitely work my way back up to Kelowna or wherever it might be.
Do you kind of feel that it's a bit of a shock or an eye opener for a lot of the Western Hockey League guys that do get sent down or signed with the BCHL? Sometimes they might think that, oh, it might be a bit of a step down in the tiering system, but once they step on the ice and see that there are a lot of really good skilled hockey players that are close to going pro or have a lot of Division One scholarships tied up, they figure out rather quickly that the skill level is actually a lot more comparable than maybe most other junior A hockey leagues in Canada.
Definitely, yeah. These are the top two leagues in Western Canada, and I don't think that can be debated by anyone. So no, there's like even for me, I came down and you're thinking, oh, it's a little bit easier. The guys are a step slower and not quite as good, but in a lot of cases it's not that way. Like you look at the Penticton V's, which I think they're 17-0 right now, maybe something along that line, and they're a team where when we played them, I thought, yeah, this team right here is a very good Western League team. So yeah, there's no easy games or easy teams in this league. So.
Mm-hmm. Another guy I talked about, high caliber players with scholarships. Another Northern product we haven't mentioned that was also on this podcast earlier in the year, was Diego Johnson from Fort St. James, who's 16, starring for the Merritt Centennials, and he already has a Division I scholarship sewn up with Wisconsin. So, here's another northern guy from a smaller community that's accomplished a lot of the same sort of things, overcome the same sort of geographical challenges, and has found himself in a pretty good place early on in his junior A career.
Yeah, exactly. I don't really know Diego at all, but yeah, I mean, we played him a little bit when we were down in Merritt, and he's a good hockey player for sure. Like, he's definitely got the talent, and yeah, the future looks bright for him as well. So congrats to him.
Yeah. Well, Scott, it was absolutely wonderful to have you on the podcast. Always nice to check in with our local products and Hockey North athletes.
All right, and that was our interview with Scott Cousins. Brendan, what are your final thoughts?
Well, like Nico, very hungry to get the most out of the season. And one thing that really impressed upon me in that chat with Scott was the willingness and the wherewithal of understanding that he wanted to get back to the player that he was on that very special Caribou U16 team, which was primed to win it all that year until COVID shut everything down. Of course, he was teammates with Lyndon Macau, Decker Moinchin, and a couple others, just to name a few, on that stacked team that was coached by Ryan House. And he just wants just a player that's trying to get his offensive confidence back, and he's going to more than get his fair share of opportunities here playing in the top six with the Spruce Kings. He was playing on the top line over the weekend against the Cranbrook Bucks. I'm sure he'd want a couple more points than what he got against Cranbrook, but Cousins getting an opportunity and trying to fight his way back to the Western Hockey League, whether it's with Kelowna or somebody else.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I've always really liked about Scotty is his energy and his attitude. He's always positive and he's always looking for that bigger thing. And for a player like that and for a kid like Scotty, that is something that he is going to achieve in some way. He's going to get that. And I really hope you guys did like our interview with Scott Cousins, as it's very infectious. Scotty's presence is definitely felt, and we enjoy having Scotty around, and I'm sure you guys would have absolutely loved to listen to this interview as well. All right, and that is it for this week's episode of the Hockey North podcast. Thank you so much for listening in, and we will see you everyone here next week. I need to know.